What an intro, and those 2 dark days, a thing of the past as we get back in action here at Gulfstream Park West on a beautiful, wow, is it a nice Wednesday afternoon here in Miami Gardens. Ron Nicoletti, Jason Blewett alongside. A happy November 1st to everybody out there. And how'd the trick-or-treating go yesterday for Halloween?
Went pretty good. Didn't have that many kids, but it was nice. But more importantly, it's the end of the hurricane season. So it's
is this the
official November? Yeah, once November they say it is. I don't know if it's this exact day, but so that's always good. So.
Let's keep our fingers crossed and hopefully
beautiful weather.
There's no outliers there.
Beautiful weather, and we should have a great day of racing today with a fast main track and a firm turf course.
Yeah, fast and firm for the first time in what feels like a while. It was a rainy October, but through it all, this main track right here at Gulfstream Park West, at least in my estimation, has been very fair and even. There's been very few biased days as well on the turf. A couple of days here and there sprinkled throughout the month of October in which early speed seemed to do quite well. Now, there's obviously a lot going on, and we're about a month out from the opening of Gulfstream Park and the championship meet some 8 miles east. It is also, though, with this first day of November, Ronnie, Breeders' Cup week out at Del Mar, and Breeders' Cup 34 coming to you. We hope you'll be watching and wagering over at Gulfstream Park in silks. And a little rundown here for our South Florida horses. We've got 3 main Floridians, if you will, in the mix, beginning with Blonde Bomber, one of 13 entered in the juvenile fillies.
Blonde Bomber from, this Blonde Bomber maybe grabs his share in there. Jose Lescano in the saddle. I think this horse has a little bit of a shot in that particular race, Blonde Bomber. And don't forget, on Saturday, special 12 p.m. post right here.
So noon post at GPW. Yeah. You can watch and wager on Breeders' Cup 34 over at Gulfstream Park. Again, Silk's our state-of-the-art simulcasting center, and would like to see Stanley Gold maybe make some noise for Arundel and Blonde Bomber. Of course, Stanley knows what it takes to win the juvenile fillies. 7 years ago, it was Awesome Feather capping an unbeaten season. A bit later in the day, in fact, the juvenile fillies is the first Breeders' Cup Saturday race out at Del Mar. A couple of races down the line, however, it's the Filly Mare Sprint, another jam-packed field. In fact, you've got 14. And although Curlin's approval, Ronnie, hasn't really shipped and brought her A-game in the past, I'm hoping she does, obviously, Saturday.
Curlin's approval from Happy Alters Bond, of course, ridden by Luis Saez, 20-1 on the morning line. And I know for a fact I'm betting all the South Florida horses a little bit just to help root them home.
Yeah, there's certainly nothing wrong with being proud from where you're from and the circuit that you cover, you work on, you play on a regular basis, and I'm right with you, Ronnie. We hope to all the South Florida horses give a good account of themselves, in addition to the likes of Edgar Zayas and Antonio Sano, and just all of our connections, including Ralph Nix, who's got Caledonian Road as well in the juvenile fillies. And it all comes down to the $6 million Bob Baffert, Breeders' Cup Classic, and that'll be, of course, the centerpiece on the day. Baffert, amazingly, is looking for his 4th consecutive winner in this race, which is unbelievable to me. And he's also got no fewer than 4 contenders. However, our big rooting interest, post number 9 in that aqua blue, good old Gunavera.
Well, he's got speed on the inside with Ari talking about Bob Baffert. He's got horses that want to close, but he doesn't have a closer like Gunavera. So maybe Gunavera comes flying at the end at this 1.25-mile race and steals, if not steals the whole thing, certainly grabs a share at a price.
And this will be the Breeders' Cup debut for both Edgar Zayas, who's aboard Gunavera, and his trainer, Antonio Sano, who's really evolved and developed as one of the game's brightest young stars, if you will, sort of a new face. Obviously hit the scene in a major way last winter down in South Florida at Gulfstream Park, with Gunavera winning the Fountain of Youth and doing some good on his way to the Triple Crown. And from all reports and from what we've seen, and many thanks to our friends over at XBTV, Gunavera just has not missed a beat after arriving in Southern California on Saturday night. Here he is Monday morning, stretching his legs and just having an easy go-around over the Del Mar main track.
And if you've been watching Gunavera over the last year, just horses filled out so beautifully. I'm expecting him to run okay in the Classic.
He is very much a blue-collar, working man type of runner, and I think that's what makes him so endearing as a fan favorite. And Edgar Zayas will be aboard in his first ever Breeders' Cup race. And who knows, if Arrogate and Gun Runner run to their best ability and both have good trips, it's highly unlikely Gunnavera, or any of the 3-year-olds for that matter, can beat them. But I would not be shocked at all if this horse put in a very good account of himself and got a piece and perhaps the super, the trifecta.
We'll see how it works out, and that's the beauty of it. And it's Breeders' Cup weekend right across town at Gulfstream Park. Make sure you join us there if you want to bet those Breeders' Cup races. Should be a fantastic day.
Breeders' Cup 34, and you've been around a long time, Ronnie, and I say that with respect and reverence. I got to think you remember the build-up to the first ever Breeders' Cup back in '83.
I do remember it. I said, yeah, this thing might work. You know, and sure enough, I was wrong, and it's really expanded now. 2 days of racing, Friday and Saturday. So we've had the beauty of having a couple of them right down here in South Florida. So it's been fun thing, and I'm going to try my best to finally come out on top this weekend.
Yep, it's a day, if you're right maybe once or 1.5 times, you'll probably come out on top, but that's easier said than done. And thinking back to some of the past Breeders' Cups of yesteryear in South Florida at the old quote-unquote Gulfstream Park, I wasn't a fan at the time, and I'm disappointed I wasn't, but that Sunday Silence Easy Goer Classic, just one of the greatest races and rivalries, obviously, of the modern era.
Yeah, I still remember when they crossed the wire and the lights went on. It was a little dark there. Now they have it, you know, the day before daylight saving time, the lights went on. It was so exciting, you know, that day, and I still remember that, and a lot of fun. But
I'm assuming you were a big Easy Goer fan as well, right?
I was a big Easy Goer fan, without a doubt. But we got 8 races we got to talk about.
I know we do, but it's nice to wax poetic and walk down memory lane as we get to the first race and the first non-carryover on the day, and that of course comes in that opening dollar rolling super high 5, and you need a minimum of 7 starters, and in fact we have 8 and a big favorite in the first race who we'll get on to, and that coincides with the opening leg of Wednesday's early pick 5 here in Miami Gardens, and you can tell from the weather, just a light breeze blowing on this Wednesday, November 1st. A bit later, well, someone hit it for almost 180K, but from an acorn grows a mighty oak, and a little over 5 G's in the rainbow.
And that was the first time it was hit here at Gulfstream Park West, so we're starting anew. We got a little over $5,000 in that pool, approaching $6,000, and that is with an 8-race card, races 3 through number 8.
And, yeah, that late pick 5 on the afternoon. I'll be giving out a ticket in that. Race number 4, in a way, it's not really so late on these 8-race cards. And, yeah, we got plenty of time to talk about the races, Ronnie. And maybe the first race won't take us a heck of a long time. As we look at my pick 5, I, like many, for better or for worse, am singling the 8 Boston Mine. And I looked at this field of $10,000 filly mare maiden claimers on the firm turf for a while, saying she just in a way looks way too good on paper, and ultimately those are the favorites that always seem to come up a little short as big favorites. However, for the purposes of the early 5, she's the anchor in a modest $8 play. I love the rematch in race number 2, and I have not been a fan at all of Coronado again. He and his running style, however, paramount in the discussion in Wednesday's second race. Third race is a fun one, couple of troubled trips, and a Herman Walensky trainer change. And I see you like a horse coming in from Presque Isle.
Yeah, John Barker does a really good job. It's limited stats with horses going from that Presque Isle surface to the turf that's Sunwell. Also, as you mentioned, Golani, lots of trouble in its last race. We'll be showing that. And, of course, my buddy Herman Walensky. That's the 3 I like in that race.
All right, fair enough. And then you've got the 4th race, contenders from all over the place. It really is a diverse group of 2-year-old fillies here at GPW. And we'll wrap it up. And much like the first and the last leg, race number 5, much like the first race with Boston Mine, racing's my game. Almost looks too good on paper, right?
Yeah, I went a little deeper there. I also used the heuristic from the Bobby DeBona bond when I put my Rainbow 6 ticket together. We'll talk about that in a bit. But I think you're right with Boston Mine stretching out to a mile in his 16. Solid local turf debut, going a mile. She set the pace. She got nailed at the wire, finished second. Off that performance, certainly the one to beat in here. But I keep going back to the 4 Quack Quack every once in a while.
Why?
When I'm looking at this race. Because going back to the turf, return from labor, got mugged going into the first turn, checked, finished 5th as the favorite. That was a race moved from 7.5 on the turf to 7 on the sealed sloppy track. Want to see this horse run on the turf today. So Quack Quack on my ticket. You know, 8 is absolutely one to beat, but Quack Quack I have some interest in. Currently on the board right now at 14-1. I'll take that.
And I fell for Boston Mine on top. My price horse, I don't know about the 30-1 on the line, but the one JP Calling. Her last turf race, who knows where it came from at 65-1, 2 back. It was far better and is far better than anything she's ever thrown before. Maybe she can improve off that race or certainly run back to it. She'll have a chance to be in the mix if that happens. Race number 2 on the afternoon. This is the first sort of key rematch on this November 1st here at GPW. And a real honest, hard-hitting crew of $50,000 to $40,000 claimers. You've got 2 in the race for Eddie Plisa, 2 in the race for trainer Antonio Sano, and we've got 2, in fact 3, coming out of the 3rd race at GPW on October 13th. We'll get back to the replay machine with our first spotlight here on the program. And up first in the front of the pack, let me just add, we've got Coronado again, running and gunning and doing his thing on the lead. I was a little surprised going back to this race that Player's Luck was as far off the pace as he wound up being. We'll roll the tape from there, and both these horses ran really well. The question becomes, will Coronado again, Ronnie, get loose again like this, or does Tyler Gaffalione aboard Player's Luck maybe get a little more serious, and maybe Amisael Jaramillo gets involved as well with Storming My Way?
Yeah, and I just thought that the Player's Luck, I was going to give that one to nod, wheeling back at the same level. You saw this return from the layoff, came within the neck of catching Coronado again in recent clash. I'm not big on weights, but Coronado again carrying the 121 top weight. They added a couple of pounds. Maybe that's enough for Player's Luck to catch him, so I flip-flop my top 2 selections. And Storming My Way, you know, certainly can run well. He likes this surface.
And you see this wild finish in the meantime with the Player's Luck. Now, Coronado, again, over a wet track, had everything his own way and still just barely held on. Today, someone goes after him early, dry footing at GPW. I think Player's Luck, like you, is going to turn the tables. Eddie Plisa's runners, obviously coming in from the Jersey Shore, have a chance. An Infusion and the 4 Storming My Way. A good field, though, to get that early pick 4 underway.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, just touching on Storming My Way, 2 starts here, 1 second, 1 win, 1 second. So off that, and almost beat it, Stablemake, Infusion. So those are a couple of horses in there. But I think we got the logical one on top with Player's Luck.
I hope it's the case in that regard. I wonder who's going to be favored. Gaffalione with Player's Luck, and you've got Mr. Edgar Zayas aboard Coronado again. And you'll have Ronnie and myself for the remainder of the Wednesday card. We've got a lot more coming your way after this quick timeout.
I'm Javier Castellano.
I am Joel Rosario.
I'm John Velasquez. For the first time ever, the Clásico del Caribe will be at Gulfstream Park. Entertainment, special events, and the best horses from Latin America and the Caribbean. Right here in South Florida.
Right here in South Florida. It's a thrilling, it's a popular, it's an international, the Clásico del Caribe. It's coming to Gulfstream Park.
The Clásico del Caribe is coming to Gulfstream Park on December 9th.
I'll be there. Will you?
The Pegasus World Cup Invitational is January 27th at Gulfstream Park, and that weekend we have something new, the Pegasus World Cup Betting Championship. I'm lucky to be joined enough by 2 guys who will be playing in this tournament, including
Ray Arsenault, defending NEC champion.
and
Hi, Acacia. I'm Ross Gallo. I'm a 13-time NHC qualifier and also a member of the NTRA Players Committee.
we're so excited for it. Join us here at Gulfstream Park. $500,000 expected pool, no entry fee if played on site. This is for the players.
And a hearty welcome back from our Gulfstream studios, live with you on a Wednesday, November 1st at Gulfstream Park West. Ronnie and Jason, delighted to have you with us again as we pick up the pace, Ronnie, and dive right in to your Rainbow Six. What are we doing?
I'm going to show you my ticket, $28.80 today. And in race number 7, I'm going to single the 8 horse in there from the Jason Service bar, and that's Uncle Junior. So Jason Service really respect this. Billy, I think that horse, 2-year-old, is going to win there. And then it went 4 deep in the last. But I've used 3 in here with the 5, 6, and the number 8 horse in there. As I mentioned at the top of the show with my buddy Herman Walensky, I think you got to start on the horse when we get to it.
Yeah, I do have a stat on the outside runner here, but why don't we pick our way? And another thing with mentioning Jason Service, he's got Poseidon's Warrior, Poseidon something running in the BC Juvenile, real overachieving 2-year-old, won the Champagne, and we are starting to see the Snowbirds arriving here in South Florida as Service and Clement, Christophe Clement that is, both have runners on the card. As far as an intriguing, trouble-filled last-out race, I think you need look no further than Daddy's Teller and Golani, who are coming out of the same turf race over at Gulfstream Park on September 27th. We'll pick it up from the gate to the top of the backstretch. Golani the 5, Daddy's Teller the 4, and the trouble really begins, and it's almost a case of almost a chain of reaction. Now, you've got Golani. If we could just freeze it right here, the horse you really want to watch into the first turn is Golani. And this horse, Southern Sea, now it's your job to protect the guy to your inside. Not sure if things were a little tight or maybe the rider overreacts in a stride or two, but things do not go well at this point for the 5 Golani as they hit the bank of that clubhouse turn. Southern Sea comes over, Golani gets rank, and now, if we could just pause it there, the gray horse right here is the number 4, Daddy's Teller. So you've already had a little bit of trouble with this horse. The next horse to really get it is the gray horse, Daddy's Teller. We'll roll it again, and things around this first turn, basically for both the 4 and 5, go from bad to worse. The 5 lost all of that good position that he originally had, and in the end, they were no match for the couple of the top 2 runners by crunch time. What do you like in this race?
I went with the 6, Son Willis, drop it to the 16 level on the turf after ending his campaign in Presque Isle with back-to-back third-place finishes against maiden special weight competition. But John Bork, the trainer, I looked this up, limited sampling, he's 3 for 4, 75% with debut turf runners, and 2 for 4 with horses going from synthetic to turf. So I wanted a new shooter in here, and Son Will, maybe I'll get a little bit of a price.
And let's mention that the Presque Isle horses have really been running well. They've been running terrific. There's already been a couple of nice priced winners shipping in from Presque Isle Downs. My top pick, and this is solely in a race where I didn't love anybody, trainer stat here we're about to show you on the 8. Mr. Miserable won me over. A lot of respect for Herman Walensky. Just doesn't run that many horses, but is a very good horseman. And when you start to go through the 5-year database of the racing form and formulator, this guy's got a number of good stats, very positive stats, and just straight up trainer changes with that of which Mr. Miserable has today. Good enough for me in race number 3. 4th race on the card as we move right along. Keep in mind, it's a bit of an early bird. Late pick 5 gets underway with this 2-year-old filly, $20,000 to $16,000 claimer on the main track. I had only used 2 in this race originally on that early pick 5 ticket. For the late one, though, Ronnie, and I'm curious to hear your take on this race. I didn't even use your top pick, who I'm anxious to hear about, Painted on Jeans. Went 4 deep in this race. I think this is the hardest race on the afternoon. Didn't single racing's my game. Used 3 deep, and I like Dakota Eyes in the 6th. I think she grinds out the win. Do you like her in the in that race?
I got it right on top.
Right on top.
John Vincent does an excellent job.
Oh, he's an excellent trainer. I did pull the trigger, and I did like, actually, in the 7th race. I'm with you on Uncle Junior. It's fitting he's from New Jersey, right, Uncle Junior?
Hey, Uncle Junior.
Exactly. Right, I'm going to go, where's Tony Soprano, man? Uncle June, Uncle June. And we'll wrap it up. The 8th race is the feature today. It's a heck of a way to end this card. You could go 4 deep in there and probably have the winner. I narrowed it down, and I'm going to anchor the play on Decant. I know she's going way up in class. I loved her maiden win last time out off a layoff for trainer David Fox, a race we will bring you a bit later in the broadcast. But for now, let's look at a white-hot barn. And one filly I indeed used on my late pick 5, that is Gustavo Delgado in the number 2 Intactus, who did not make the lead first time out, yet was still good enough to get the maiden win, being able to rate off the pace with a very good trip. And she returns for a barn, Ronnie, who's really in the zone. This is the best Gustavo's horses have been running basically all year.
Yeah, just over the last few days, the barn has really perked up. And I did not use this horse because, coming off the debut maiden victory, I wanted to see another one. But I can understand you having this one right on the ticket.
Yeah, second-time starter who, again, did not just by full blunt force, speed, trauma, wire a field first out. She rated comfortably, and I think she's properly spotted first time against winners. That's good enough for me, in addition to the 7 Hold On Emma. And we got another stat, I think, here on trainer Armando de la Cerda, who does a fantastic job. Yeah, he's been a little on the quiet side here thus far through the first 20 days or so at GPW, but just straight up turf to dirt over the last 5 years. And Hold On Emma is making that move. He's 20 for 76.
Yeah, and I got that on the ticket for all the reasons. And then broke her maiden on the main track for 12.5 tag. Goes back to the dirt after finishing a wide 7th behind who? The horse I have on top, and that's Painted On Jeans. And I'm going to tell you about Painted On Jeans. This one is a daughter of Speightstown out of the St. Liam mare. And I wanted to make it, do I look fat in these? I love the name of this horse, Painted On Jeans. Going back to the surface where she broke her maiden by 10 lengths, returned from the layoff, finished third on the turf against Tougher, excuse me, that was a 35 optional claimer. I'm liking this horse on the main track today.
Does it worry you her best race, or at least her only dirt win, was by 10, but in the slop at all?
No, I just think the spot here is, I wanted to go on. I mean, I really thought the race goes through Hold On Emma. That's the one I wanted to have on top, but I just kept going back to Painted On Jeans, and that's the way I saw the race. So trying to get, maybe Cute get a little bit of price. I don't know what this horse is on the morning line or anything like that.
What is the price? 3 to 1.
It's the morning line favorite.
Oh,
I had no idea.
Wow. All right, I'll bet Jay Stone that Painted On Jeans is not favored by Posa. He does a great job.
I didn't think it would be.
Yeah, no. Hold On Emma for me is probably the one who's going to go favorite in there. But again,
Right.
that's just my opinion. Very tough job, and our man Jay Stone does a great job, no doubt about it. Here's race number 5 on the afternoon, Ronnie. We've got a few more to bring everybody, and we'll dive into this $20,000 3-and-up claiming race at a 2-turn turf mile. And it's almost a two-for special here with Racing's My Game. Not only do you have a pretty sizable drop, and the difference between those horses he faced last time for 30 as opposed to, and in comparison, the field he meets today for 20, I think it's night and day in the quality department. He also is the sort of obvious lone speed on paper.
Yeah, he is, and he finished third behind that repeat winner grade dude, and that was that 30 condition claimer. Going a mile across town at Gulfstream Park turf course. So Racing's My Game. Touristic, as I mentioned, going to the Bobby de Bonabon. Yeah, that's right. And Mr. Monk, who's who I threw on the ticket in there. Frances McNeely, we've been talking about horses going from Presque Isle Synthetic. She's already won with one, so I threw this one on the ticket, Mr. Monk, who's stretching out to a mile on the turf.
And
today.
maybe that horse is one of the keys early, because it does appear that horse has the speed to basically take it or get a good trip right off the dropping favorite, the 5 Racing's My Game. For second, the 8 Frontline Page, who didn't run all that badly, a couple starts back in the same race as Racing's My Game. Here's race number 6 on the program. We head back to the main track. In fact, our last dirt race on this 8-race program is a 12-5 3-and-up Filly-Mare Claimer, 7/8, and the distance here and the running style of the 4 Dakota Eyes, Ronnie, won me over in a race that should at the very least have a pretty honest pace here, no?
Yeah, Dakota Rise, what I liked about this horse, a consistent 11 starts, 3 wins, 3 seconds of the third, on the surface returns. Hopes to add to that horse for course that it ended her campaign across town with that 6,200 claiming victory at the distance. I think she does sit the trip in here. John Vincent really solid. He's like over 30% with this type of layoff.
Yeah, he's an excellent trainer, and we're happy to have him here in South Florida. He's more of a guy I know over the winter time, takes his stable to the left coast of Florida and is based at Tampa Bay Downs, but he did a great job all summer long in Hallandale Beach. The 5 Artie's Bourbon Girl, what do you do with her? I feel as though even though we picked the 4 Dakota Eyes, she's the wild card here because she had really gotten good for Elizabeth Dobles off of a bottom of a claim back in, what was that, late January.
Right.
Does seem like her last few races, you've got her 4th, I've got her 3rd. Her last few races have been disastrous, but there's a drop, there's no layoff or anything like that. I just felt in a way she was probably the most interesting horse, but I found more at a short price things I didn't particularly like about her.
Yeah, and then maybe you can you off track, maybe hurt this horse a little bit. I left it off the ticket. I mean, got it 4th, but I left it off my Rainbow 6 ticket.
All right, 4 and 6, cold exacta for Ronnie and I in race number 6 as we spend the remainder of this Wednesday card on the 1st of November on the GPW turf. And we do it in style. We've got a 2-year-old filly maiden special weight up first, and then the card is capped by an absolute war in a Filly-Mare optional claimer. Now, Uncle Junior has got Jason Service in his corner as this horse ships in from Monmouth Park. bred to at least aesthetically like the turf, being by Artie Schiller.
Yeah, debuting on the turf, showed speed, tired to finish fifth. There was her career debut, going 6 panels, as you mentioned, at Monmouth Park. Want to show you stat on Jason Service. First time on the turf with 2-year-olds, maiden special weight, limited sampling, but very good. He's 3 for 11, 27%, 36% in the money. He's got that positive return of investment, and I really respect what this barn done. So I had to find a single on my ticket to keep it affordable, and I thought Uncle Junior was the right one. Trapped at Sea at second, and Dawn Lightning debuting for Eddie Plesa Jr. Chased the pace, finished, I believe, third in a 5-furlong debut up at Monmouth in August. So
right.
Maybe that's a speed play right there.
Yeah, she brings big speed to the mix. In fact, I'll be curious to see the 2 fillies coming down from the Jersey Shore, Uncle Junior and Dawn Lightning, both have speed, and perhaps they hook up early. We'll see. I can tell you, as far as the pedigree with Uncle Junior, not only do you have the Artie Schiller jumping off the page at you, the second dam joustabout was 2 for 2 on the turf, and she won the Natalma back in the late 90s. So there is some quality and certainly some turf prowess in the second dam and second female family of the 8, Uncle Junior. What'd you think of the effort first time out? Because I liked it as well with the 3 Trapped at Sea.
Trapped at Sea I thought was pretty good. Let me get back to that race. I thought we were flipping the page, but we're not. Trapped at Sea, I did not use. Oh, wait. Hold on a second. There you go. Trapped at Sea, debuting locally. She, promising turf debut, I thought it was, across town. She finished third at the distance behind that repeat winner, My Masterpiece, and in front of a next out winner called Indian Myth. So I had to get back to my race 7. Key race, got to use this one on the ticket. But like I said, at my hat, I'm going with Uncle Junior to single it out. But when I'm betting multiples, I'm using Trapped at Sea and Dawn Lightning.
And Dawn Lightning, all right. 2 from Jersey, and then you've got David Fox, second time out. And David Fox, speaking of one of the most high-profile barns on the South Florida circuit year-round, is where I went in today's 8th race. We do have some time, and I'm happy about that because this came up a very tough, I thought, for the level. Optional claimer. You've got some horses coming in. None more important than Ronnie's top pick, the number 1, Noble Ready, who I thought ultimately had a pretty good trip last time out of Delaware and will look to, I thought a disappointing effort, will look to improve here getting back to Florida.
Yeah, she's debuting locally. Of course, you see it in the trainer's name, Christophe Clement. So you look, return from a layoff, as you mentioned, at Delaware. Finished third. It was a 15 optional claimer going. This is a $180,000 daughter of More Than Ready. Has Tyler Gaffleone handling the inside post today. But this one is sort of shaky to me. I think it would be competing against better, is what I've thought,
That she would be running against better?
Yeah.
Or further along at this stage of her
just
career?
further along. It just seems, that she should be doing more than she's doing right now. Probably the logical choice in there, but I would not single this horse at all.
Yeah, that, I guess, in a nutshell, it's funny you said that, Ronnie, was my, I guess, biggest issue with her, even though I have her second.
Right.
And she's got talent. She's very much stake-faced, but she's only got that 1 win, and that happened at 1-2 at Delaware Park in July of her 2-year-old season. Now, Aquemini for Ralph Nix, and Ralph, of course, has got Caledonian Road, I think that's her name, and the BC Juvenile Fillies on Saturday. Let's see if he can team up with Edgar Zayas with a filly. Man, does she have a knack at getting in the close ones. I mean, you want to talk about trench warfare, so to speak. Her last few have all been blanket finishes, and the race that we're about to show you a little over 4 months ago, she put in the widest run of all and just fell short, and this was a race in which I thought Tyler Gaffleone, who we've got highlighted in the blue sleeves and yellow cap, earned his money, did everything right, and saved every inch of ground. He's finally able to find a seam once they straightened away, and she's going to be up in time to win this race by a tight neck.
She drifted a little bit in the stretch in that race, and I want to show you, I thought it was a great performance, and I want to show you a stat on trainer Ralph Nix with this horse, layoff of 61 to 180 days in the optional claiming ranks on the turf, so we narrowed it down here. He's 4 for 19, 21%, 37% in the money, and only that $1.40 return of investment, but I think this, coming off the layers, this horse is, as you mentioned, really a hard-knocking campaigner. Had to have her on my ticket.
Yeah, neck shy of winning her last 4 races. She's
Right.
3 for 4. We love those Wildcat airs. In fact, there's 2 of them in here who have major chances, as Amisael Jaramillo, trainer Ralph Zadie, both have the 7 Wild Chatter, who is definitely a threat. Ronnie's 3rd pick, capping your try. I've got her capping my super. And let's show you the effort most recently out of the 6, Deacon, who had a great trip. But boy, the more I looked at this race, and I remembered her in my mind being pretty impressive on the return victory on September 21st. Man, we watch and you just look at the amount of horse Jaramillo has sitting in the pocket right now, and as they get closer to the wire, she'll be able to finally just fight her way up the rail. And in a way, in my eyes, it was like she only ran about 150 to 200 yards in this race. She's got to improve, of course, but I love the pedigree. Being a Tappet, I think she can take a big step forward.
And she got a 75 buyer that afternoon for that performance. It was, as you mentioned, the ride was most important there, saving all that ground and busting through on the rail. So I think Wild Chatter can run very well. You got Ralph Zadie and you got, of course, Embassy Al Jaramillo. Put those other riders, give them a little schooling there, lesson there. They were saving all the ground early on.
It's just a really good field to cap the card. It really is. We end things, no doubt, on the right foot. Hopefully we began on the right foot. We certainly thank you in joining us here on Gulfstream Park West today. Acacia, of course, out at Del Mar. She's maybe on her surfboard right now, surfing next to Gunnavera, who knows? But Ronnie and I will be with you all day from GPW, and our man upstairs, Chris Griffin, is standing by. We'll see you before the first.